Now, we've done a couple of TV segments. Harry made me watch the Harry and Me Again Netflix special, and you made me watch some, was it bloody Brookside or something like that?
Coronation Street.
Coronation Street, yes, with the far right guy with the based arguments that nobody could.
We
could
must disavow, absolutely.
Yeah, with that we thoroughly disavow, of course. And Clarkson, he's another sort of chap that we're going to have to disavow because he's been a very bad boy. I want to cover that. Before I do, let's mention the Premium Contemplations: How to Spot a Liar.
Be very useful for your interactions with Meghan Markle.
Yes, well, there was a reason why I picked that to go along with the bit about Meghan that I'm about to do. So yes, so previously I covered the Meghan special, and Meghan was basically the one who got Mr. Clarkson sort of cancelled across the board from that Sun article, which you can't find online anymore. But I did get an archive link for it. So this was what got Mr. Clarkson kicked off of basically everything. Now everybody quotes the bit in the middle, which he sort of references Game of Thrones, but actually the rest of the article has some good points in it.
I did like the Rose West comparison. I did think that was quite bold.
Well, that was the bit that everybody sort of refers to, that bit of the Game of Thrones bit. But he starts off. We all know in our heart of hearts that Harold Markle is a slightly dim but fun-loving chin who flew Apache helicopters, gunships in Afghanistan and cavorted around Las Vegas hotel rooms with naked hookers. But then along came Meghan, who used some obviously vivid bedroom promises to turn him into a warrior of woke.
Did you hear about that Harry watched his wife's sex scenes before going on dates with her? Like, he would actually seek them out from Suits and watch her shagging other blokes.
That tells you quite a lot about...
Prince Cuck? Yep.
Yes, quite. Now, as Mr. Clarkson says, and I think we can resonate with these words, I actually feel rather sorry for him today because he's just a glove puppet with no more control over what he says or does than Basil Brush. And...
boom, boom.
Quite. He goes on, and this is the bit that caught my attention most of all, was, can't they see everything happening is so obviously pre-planned? Leave the UK, blame the royals, do an interview with Oprah, do a Netflix series. It should be called A Woman Talking Bollocks. I can see it clearly, the studied pauses, the mock incredulity, and the B-movie soap actress quivering voice more in sorrow than anger stories that are obviously claptrap. And I can tell you with absolute certainty what is coming next. Harold's spare book will be released, then she'll do one, called I Think I May Be God, and then she will have exhausted the whole royal thing, and she'll be off to marry a tech billionaire.
Do you know what the funny thing is as well? Around the same time that Harry released his book, Michelle Obama released a book called Becoming, which either sounds like she's ascending to the status of Christ or transitioning. Again.
He was onto something there. And Clarkson leaves it with Harold, meanwhile, be stuck in California with no friends, either there or here. Now, funnily enough, I don't know if you noticed this, but Markle has been putting out some comments about how despairing she is about the reception to Harry's book and about how he's been made to look rather silly and how it's emotionally impacted her.
I'll be honest, I haven't noticed it because I'm not a middle-aged woman and I don't follow any of these stories.
Well, for whatever reason, people on my Twitter timeline have been talking about that, and I picked up on it because, of course, this is narrative building. She's obviously going to leave him at some point.
Yeah.
And she needs to build the narrative, starting now, as to why she has to do. Because
she's put upon, yeah.
Well, because she's almost milked him dry at this point. There's probably not much more she can wring out of this. So, she's starting to build the narrative as to why she moves on. Anyway, so Clarkson got himself banned from absolutely everything. He was dropped by The Sun. He was dropped by ITV. He was cancelled by Amazon for his Clarkson's Farm and Grand Tour. Now, if you're not familiar with Amazon. So they're a company that, as we've talked about, they don't want to be involved in distributing anything that somebody somewhere might find offensive. So they stick to selling non-offensive items such as AnCap, the Communist Manifesto, and It Takes a Village by Hillary Clinton. So they always steer clear of controversy, but they had already paid for this season, so obviously they're not going to lose money. They're not going to put principles ahead of money, so they decided to go ahead and show it. Here's the trailer.
So I could do another bag. You can cope with one load in your grain, can't you? If you can't go on, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll be able to, yeah.
Well, I don't know why I came here tonight.
Here's my plan. Cows. No. Stop it! I'm being attacked by a cow!
Cows might get tuberculosis because of all the badgers.
You can't shoot them.
Nope.
Gas them.
Nope.
You don't just hit it with a hammer.
No, you absolutely do not just hit it with a hammer.
My next plan, a restaurant.
You can eat cock.
Okay, more chilies.
I'm going to try.
Oh man, I feel it for you.
That's fantastic.
Welcome to Agriculture, Health and Safety.
No, shit. Ah!
Oh my god!
I had to clear up the dog shit while my sausages were cooking.
Your dog's
But
your
honestly.
What a drop me off over there.
Where?
Just by the red carpet.
I'm not dropping you by the red carpet.
Why?
I am not your chauffeur.
Go and park the car.
Shut up.
The restaurant's a huge amount of work.
This whole menu is basically a beef menu.
Everything's ready to go. I just need West Oxfordshire District Council to say, good idea.
The applicant's conduct is shameful. It indicates a give me an inch and I'll take a mile attitude.
I like a beer on a hot day.
I love the smell of beer.
Yeah, a couple of these off you make with the pickled onions or something, like the Agberg, whatever it is, isn't it?
Wise words. Wise words.
Have you been following this one, Connor?
I haven't seen the second season yet because
Right.
I've made my dad made me. I had a bit of a busy weekend, and my dad made me promise to wait to watch it until the end of the week. So I love the first season though. We did sit through it, and I think it's one of the single best cases for why bureaucracy is acid to the Englishman having his own quiet life.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I mean, there were so many examples. I mean, you only seen in the second series, so spoiler alert. But at one point, he digs a hole,
Right.
and then he takes the dirt from it and he dumps it in a slightly different location. And his farm manager comes along and says, "Well, you're going to need a permit for that."
Poor put upon Charlie, the farm manager, who
Yes.
he does his best, but he is hamstrung by all the imbeciles of the council. Funny enough, this is Oxfordshire Council, and I don't know if it's the exact same people, but I do know that when the 15 mini cities thing happened, the Oxford Council came out and did a video looking like they were about to be shot by Kim Jong-un up against a white wall, saying it's just
Wouldn't that be
disinformation
awful?
and misinformation. It's a conspiracy theory to say that we're putting up traffic barriers or bollards when you literally did later on. They're just a few cameras to ease congestion. Pay no attention, citizen, to the rulers in Davos confiscating your car. It's just mental.
Yeah, we did a segment on that. It is slightly suspicious how certain international bodies got large amount of fundings, and then all of a sudden the council woke up one day and suddenly decided that they'd had an idea to implement the Davos theme. But yeah, I mean, it's not just the bureaucracy. I mean, the bureaucracy is a huge aspect of this, but I mean, it's the weather, it's the supermarkets crushing the farmers on price, the government are policing rules on just about everything. I mean, I gave you the dirt example, but I mean, every episode there is, he puts a fence up and he needs a permit for that, or he tries to do this, or he tries to, I mean, even on his own land, wholly owned land that nobody ever goes on. You need a permit for it, and I don't know if you were ever reduced to speaking to foreign types, but I was chatting to an Australian the other day, and when he wanted to sort of lightly take the piss out of me, he would say things like, "Have you got a permit for that, mate?"
Yep.
Because that is what we are like in this country. We need a permit for bloody everything.
One of the most egregious stories I remember covering on GB News quite a while ago, must have been last year, was Geronimo the alpaca. Do you remember that?
No.
So there was a sanctuary farm, and there was this alpaca that had been on the waiting list for being killed for multiple years because they thought it had TB, and they did repeated tests, and it came up negative quite a few times, and it came up positive on a particularly sensitive PCR. And so
PCRs.
George Eustace ordered the equivalent of an airstrike on the poor bloody thing, and they killed this adorable alpaca. And then they were asking to do an inquest afterwards because, well, it was likely that it didn't have TB, and you would have found it in the autopsy, and DEFRA just closed the lid on it. They shipped off to Area 51 or something because it was such an embarrassment. But government just kills innocent alpacas for no reason.
Well, I mean, not only that, but they appear to be crushing the farming industry.
Yeah.
I mean, another reason why I like this article, we got something here from the Metro.
Right.
So, I mean, the feedback apparently from farmers has been absolutely blistering support. So, sheep farmer and author Jamie Rebank says, Clarkson has done more for farmers than Country File achieved in 30 years. I can report back from the farming community. They all loved it. They loved it.
Much better presenter as well.
I mean, it's engaging, and he's not necessarily going out there trying to make a sort of, AnCap Utopia argument.
No.
But you just see how impossible it is to sort of run any type of business, especially farming, with the rules and restrictions we got these days. And I mean, there's additional stuff in the second season that you won't have seen, because I mean, you would have seen lots of stuff in the first season, but in the second season, the badger element gets introduced to this as well. So it's the TV.
Or he said they were noisy teenagers in the first season, and now they're all on his land, are they?
Well, and the big problem is he gets cows,
right?
And you know, some poor woman who's got a farm just up the road from him, dairy cows, unlike the sort of meaty, juicy, delicious cows that he's got. But she had 60 dairy cows, and half of them had to be destroyed. And well, so far in the series, half of them have been destroyed because a badger has gone and, you know, humped its leg or whatever it is they do, and given the cow TB. And
I'll risk it. Not being funny. Most of the best authors wrote great stuff while they're on TB. John Keats, George Orwell. I love a cough from a steak. Don't care.
I don't know what it does to milk, but it's a bit extreme that you can't even defend yourselves from them when badgers are not an endangered species anymore, even though they're still classified as such. So, I mean, that poor woman's farm was on the verge of going out of business, unless she could sell to Clarkson's restaurant, which would be just enough to keep her head above water. So he goes to huge expense in setting up a restaurant, and he takes it to the council. And again, spoiler alert, but well, they do the council-y thing.
They don't give him planning permission, and then recently he's been ordered to shut shop, as Josh covered on a weekend segment.
I mean, there's a remarkable section in the council meeting where some bloke argues against it by saying that it might cause a bit of light pollution, and he really likes going outside and looking up at the dark sky. A sad bastard. But, you know, this is how everything is shut down. Another interesting thing about the restaurant bit as well is he has to get permission from all these agencies, and one of them is, you know, the Outstanding Beauty Society or whatever the bloody hell it is, and the other one is the police.
Yeah,
and
I was going to say the people on the council, I don't understand how they're sitting on the Outstanding Beauty Society.
I'm probably misremembering the name exactly.
It's the areas of natural beauty thing, but
that's it.
The physiognomy of these people would indicate that they wouldn't know beauty if it hit them in the face.
Good point, but no, the police say, well, we can only approve this if you put in extra lighting, and the Outstanding Beauty people say, well, if there's any extra lighting, we can't approve it. And, you know, that's the state of sort of British bureaucracy at this point. And we've got this video and this one's actually from the first season, of Charlie, the farm manager, explaining to Clarkson basically how perilous it is for British farmers. Now, Clarkson had been operating this farm for a year at this point.
Yes.
Now, he's probably not the most competent of farmers, but his co-host most certainly is.
And he is also probably in the best place to take a financial hit, because he came into it with a large fortune before he decided to basically retire very actively.
And he makes that point. And Clarkson has no shortage of capital equipment to invest into his farm. So if he can't make at least some sort of profit anyway, so he spent a year on it, and he made £144 in his first year, and that was despite producing considerable goods. So let's watch this video.
So the fact of the matter is this: farming 7 days a week for a year on a 1,000-acre farm has generated an income of £144.
Correct. Fortunately, at the moment, we have this subsidy. When that goes...
What are farmers going to do? I mean, honestly, what are they going to do? The ones who don't have Amazon film crews following them around and who wants to be a millionaire to top up the income. I mean, what do you do when these subsidies start to go down?
Yeah, there's going to be a sea change to the rural, you know, the countryside. There'll be 30% less farmers, probably.
That seems to be an intentional government policy, because recently the British government were paying farmers to retire.
Yep.
How odd. And then the Dutch, obviously, have had their Dutch farmers' protests recently because they were confiscating...
He's open war on Dutch farmers at the moment.
Well, they were confiscating all of their land because of nitrogen emissions. Though they weren't... The Americans, who have been thinking about similar net zero policies, haven't been stopping the Chinese or Bill Gates from becoming the largest owner of farmland in their country. It just seems that certain people are allowed to own all the farmland, the exact type that want to medicate cattle and make sure you only eat bugs and synthetic meat, but then other people, like patriots, like Jeremy Clarkson, oh no, you've got to operate at hemorrhaging loss, and if you've had a farm across your family generations, well, we'll just give you a little bit of retirement money and you can scarp a peasant. Doesn't matter that your ancestors have cultivated the beauty of the rolling hills of the British countryside. No, we're going to concrete it over because Tom Harwood says so.
Well, and this is the reason why I wanted to make this segment, because I've talked before about energy policy and about how the British government has basically taken us to the point where we are reliant on energy imports in order to make it through. This winter particularly, because we're reliant on wind for a lot of our energy production, and it doesn't always blow.
No.
So that means we're basically reliant on the French nuclear power stations to support us. And the reason this is so fundamental, it's a point I keep coming back to in Brokenomics, is the base tier of any economy is energy and agriculture. Everything else is built on top of those two things. And you can swap around the components within those, anything that is built on top of this. If you're not, if washing machines go out of favour, then you start producing forklift trucks. On the good side, I mean, with services, if hand jobs aren't in vogue, and try hairdressing or accountancy or whatever it is, you can swap around the goods and services mix. But if you're not producing food and energy, your economy is keyed behind, below the waterline before you even get going. You must have these elements.
This was the MAGA agenda that Trump brought in. He immediately tariffed the Chinese to an equal level that the Chinese were tariffing the Americans, so they reached mutually assured destruction. He took all the money and used it to subsidize American agriculture, because America, if they can produce all their own food internally if it's run the right way. I'm not big on farm subsidies, but if you're getting screwed over in trade and you need to be protectionist because you're basically on a wartime footing, seems like the sensible policy. He was also the first president to make America entirely energy self-sufficient since Nixon set forth the mandate in the 70s, and they were a net oil exporter to the point of where they were destabilizing the price of under OPEC, and it was about $1 a gallon versus now it's reaching up to $9-10. And at the same time, curiously running counter to the climate narrative, America between 2017 and 2019, despite withdrawing from the expensive Paris Climate Accord negotiations, they were the leading nation in reducing their emissions year on year because they were making and
fracking.
using their own gas.
Yep.
And isn't it just convenient that Trump lost that election? It's really sad. And then Biden starts doing gas again after closing off the Keystone XL and then using his son's investment firm to sell to Sinopec, the Chinese state-owned gas procurer. Oh, dear. It's almost like they want to demolish the petrodollar and make all Americans and Brits by extension servants.
The thing is, at least if it does come to that, America has got basically the best start that you could hope for in civilizations. I mean, they've got lots of commodities, they've got lots of farming land, they've got lots of energy. They can survive by themselves. Western Europe is a different situation. We do need to get our energy house in order. But the one thing we have got going for us, we can produce enough agriculture. We can at least feed ourselves. And yet there is that war on farmers that is taking place across Western Europe at the moment. And you mentioned not liking farm subsidies. Now, I agree on a conceptual basis of that.
Yeah, in principle.
The problem is that these farmers have got a huge amount of regulations and rules and red tapes placed upon them. And basically, you can have one or the other. You can have all of those regulations, but if you do that, you're going to need to subsidise them. Or you can clear out the subsidies and you can get rid of all those rules and regulations.
That sounds wonderful to me and to most farmers, frankly.
I think it would be, because I mean that's the sort of key issue that Clarkson and his neighbours are sort of coming across, is they've got these sort of cheaper, Eastern European imports coming in all the time, where they're not hamstrung by all this red tape and this nonsense, and then have you got a permit for doing this, and you've got a permit for digging a hole, and so they can actually sort of economically operate. And look, if we're going to have this, and I don't think that we necessarily are going to get rid of all of these rules. I would like to think that we can. It's probably not going to happen. But if we're not going to do that, we could address this tomorrow. The British Parliament could pass a law that says that they're going to add 2.5% charge to everything sold in the supermarket, all foodstuff products sold in the supermarket that do not originate within the UK. Now, I did some back of the envelope numbers on what this might generate, and it would be more than enough to completely offset all of the EU subsidies that are going and give you an extra billion on top. So you'd have about 4 billion that you could disperse to British farmers. So then, you would have British farmers who have got a baseline of support. You could still have your silly regulations and rules that you want to impose upon them, make them less competitive, and you'd make foreign imports of food that little bit less competitive.
You could even do a built-in-Britain VAT cut or something like that.
There are many ways that you could get around this, and you could incentivise the British farming industry to continue to exist, that will give us that surety, that confidence that we can't be cut off, so that in some future political game, because I mean, at the moment we're having our energy supply severely restricted, it is easy to imagine that world events in 10, 15 years, maybe even 5 years' time could turn so that we don't have that food input. Why is the British government leaving us in a situation where we are dependent on foreign powers for energy and food? This is absolutely bonkers. And this series illustrates it so well. So, I mean, I know it's done very well over here in the UK. It's not done quite so well in the US. So, if you're an American watching this, do go and watch it on Amazon if you haven't already cancelled your account and get your friends to.
We
to watch it
can't
as well.
endorse pirating at all. That would be illegal.
Yeah, yes, can't do that as well. But yeah, that's definitely an option. And so it's very sad that this will be going. Although Clarkson has been dropping some hints. So he was responding to here we go. This is the tweet. He was responding to somebody on Twitter who was making fun of him that this would be the last series, and he came back with, "It isn't the last series. Don't worry." So
I believe they've already got the filming for season 3 in the can.
so right, that will explain it again. Amazon is not going to lose money on something they've already paid out for. So
Except for the Rings of Power.
yes.
Oh, no.
So come on, British government, sort it out, protect our farmers, or at least stop putting so many bloody rules on them.
Before we go to the video comments, can I just express my hatred at the builders outside? Their abject bellends. So for those who don't know,
Yes.
Swindon's a horrible place, and they're concreting over everything, and they're building some kind of bus station, and all we can ever hear, despite the soundproofing put in our studio, is drilling and whining and whirring and a literal jackhammer as we're trying to write our article. So we do labour under duress here to bring you the best content for LotusEaters.com.
Swindon Council is very interesting. They've obviously got an absolutely massive capital budget, and
Yep.
they're digging up every single road in Swindon in order to, I don't know, put a secret bunker it under for the WEF people or whatever it is they're doing.
I think they're going to need one because, frankly, Swindon would look better if you dropped a bomb on it. Because for anyone who hasn't seen,
Well, we can only hope.
go on Google Maps and look at Swindon train station. Look at the monolithic shoebox concrete catastrophe stacked on top of it. It's all empty office buildings with the giant National Rail logo on top. It looks like the kind of things that vampires from I Am Legend would crawl out of the ceiling. It's horrible.
But no, my point is they've got this absolutely massive capital budget, but clearly no revenue budget, because everywhere you walk into Swindon, this is quite remarkable, there is pigeon shit everywhere. I mean, just gallons of it running off the walls, across the floor. I mean, I've never seen so much pigeon shit in all my life.
Maybe
So-
it will start to lessen because the migrants are going to poach them and start roasting them in the open street.
Well, we certainly got enough of those. We had to walk past on our way into town to get our lunch. So we can only hope that they go to war, those two.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the book clubs, this one on George Orwell's Animal Farm. If you'd like to find out what else Lotus Eaters is putting out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.